Hey everyone. Ever felt like you just don't fit in, even when you're with your closest friends? Well, that's exactly what our protagonist, Locke, is going through in today's story. Picture this, a quaint village on the border of Greyla, where 12-year-olds get their job appraisals from a priest. Each child gets a job that matches their skills. Sounds straightforward, right? Our MC, Locke, introduces himself as a beast tamer, a job even the priest didn't recognize. His friend Emmy, a magic user, thinks it's super cool but is also in disbelief. Then there's Isaac, the gladiator, and Saint Ascara, who boost Locke's spirits, believing he can do it. They all make a pact to become the strongest in their fields and form an S-rank party. Locke decides that as long as he's with his friends, having fun, he'll be happy, even if his job is a bit unusual. Fast forward 3 years, and we're in the royal capital of Kronto. It's raining, and our boy Locke arrives, drenched but determined. He's about to reunite with his friends when he overhears a heartbreaking conversation. Isaac and the others are debating kicking him out of their party, calling his job nonsense. Imagine hearing your closest friends doubt you after all the blood, sweat, and tears you've put in. Emmy tries to defend him, but even she's unsure. Locke is left outside, soaked and shattered. Will he let this break him, or will he rise above and prove them wrong? Stick around till the end to find out. Tomorrow, we're going to meet the hero and enter the Dungeon of Flames of Destruction. Isaac announced with a spark in his eyes. Can you believe it? The hero, in their party. With his strength, Isaac was confident they'd conquer the dungeon. But then, he casually threw a curveball. Oh, by the way, there's no issue if Emmy dates Locke. Wait, what? Was Isaac serious? Locke couldn't help but ponder. He had never even seen a magical beast before. You see, most beast tamers spend their lives on a wild goose chase for magical beasts, or they switch to a completely different career. Their skills include support magic and enchanting equipment to boost their allies' strength. But poor Locke. He was the jack of all trades, cooking, lugging the party's gear, scouting for enemies, taking hits, negotiating with the guild, and more. How could they not see his worth? The next day arrived, and the hero, Kid, introduced himself with grandeur to Isaac's party. It's an honor to work with you, he declared. Locke, still in disbelief, whispered to Isaac, is this for real? Isaac shot him a glance and brushed him off. Kid, ever the charmer, started complimenting the ladies, calling them beautiful. A bit too much, Locke noted. But when Kid finally approached Locke, he ordered him rudely to carry his things, adding that these items were worth more than Locke would earn in a lifetime. Shocked, Locke swallowed his pride and reconsidered his earlier opinion of Kid. Emmy quickly stepped in. Locke isn't our servant, Kid. Kid raised an eyebrow. Oh. With him carrying all that stuff, I just assumed. They were about to set off when Isaac asked Kid about his equipment. With a flourish, Kid revealed his dragon-slaying blade, a gift from the king. This sword can even slay a dragon, he boasted. The party was in awe, but Locke, ever observant, pointed out a tiny crack in the hilt. Kid's face reddened with anger. How dare you insult my blade? Angry, Kid pressed the blade to Locke's throat, saying he wasn't a servant and shouldn't speak nonsense. Isaac called Locke an idiot and asked Kid what to do next. They headed to the dungeon, with Kid promising to protect everyone. Emmy was confident they'd conquer the dungeon. As they united their weapons, Locke watched, memories flooding back. Through every trial, his dream had been to support their dreams. But now, watching them, he questioned if he could still stand by their side, even from the shadows. It was a bitter realization. Locke's heart ached as he remembered the countless moments he had shared with them, the laughter, the struggles, the bond that once felt unbreakable. He had always been there, silently supporting them, sacrificing his own dreams for theirs. And now, as he saw the unity and determination in their eyes, he felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Would they still need him? Could he still find his place among them? As the scene shifted to the Dungeon of Flames of Destruction, the party entered with Locke guiding them. Locke, munching on a meal, caught Isaac's annoyed eye. Isaac couldn't help but ask, why are you walking so slowly, Locke? Can't you speed up? Locke had a unique skill, Monster Radar, which allowed him to estimate the number and approximate location of monsters within the dungeon. This skill, combined with a map, drastically reduced the chances of unexpected monster encounters. Isaac, growing impatient, yelled again, did you hear me, Locke? Can't you go faster? Locke turned and calmly denied, explaining that he couldn't rush the process. Isaac's temper flared, accusing Locke of making excuses and demanding he walk faster. Apologizing to Kid, Isaac lamented that they had to witness this, emphasizing his desire to reach the boss as quickly as possible. Kid noted, "There seem to be fewer monsters compared to my last visit here." He acknowledged that even if Locke was just a servant, his scouting abilities were valuable. Isaac then asked Kid if he had ever explored this dungeon before. Kid confirmed, recounting a harrowing experience when he was a novice. He had ventured into the dungeon with a self-proclaimed highly skilled adventurer, almost losing their lives in the process. Ever since then, Kid added, "I've avoided teaming up with trash to explore dungeons." Growing frustrated, Kid demanded to know why it was taking so long to reach the boss. He accused Locke of leading them on a longer route, further increasing their irritation. Kid examined the map and called Isaac over, revealing that Locke wasn't guiding them along the shortest path. Stunned, Isaac confronted Locke, asking if this was true. Feeling nervous, Locke tried to explain, but Isaac cut him off, accusing him of sabotage and revenge. "Stop fooling around, Locke," he shouted. Locke's attempts to clarify were met with a stinging slap from Emmy, leaving him stunned and heartbroken. Emmy's harsh words cut deep, and Locke realized she now viewed him just like the others did. Locke reflected bitterly on when he had lost their trust. He had explained his reasoning countless times, but no one listened. Pissed off, he agreed to take the shortest route, warning them that it would mean encountering more monsters. Hold on, if you are enjoying this video, please comment, "We are loving it," so I can see your feedback. Now, back to the story. As they proceeded, monsters began attacking them. Emmy complained about the monsters gathering in one place, warning that if they moved too slowly, more would swarm. They battled fiercely, and Locke couldn't help but wonder if he could still consider them his friends. When they finally reached a massive door, Locke informed them that this was where the boss resided. He suggested they take a break to unload some of their luggage beforehand, a suggestion that carried more weight than usual after their grueling journey. Isaac's face contorted with anger, his voice dripping with venom as he shouted, "Who do you think made us late, Locke?" Emmy's voice, usually kind, was now sharp and accusatory. "Not only are we late," she added, "but you've also put us in danger, Locke." Kid's laughter echoed ominously in the dungeon's dim light. "You can't even read the mood, can you, Locke?" Locke's reply was soft, almost defeated, "I get it." But Isaac wasn't done. His rage grew, fueled by the dark atmosphere surrounding them. "Don't take that tone with me," he spat. Finally, Isaac delivered the crushing blow. "I've always hesitated to tell you this, but since you've been useless, you'll be fired once we complete this dungeon. With Kid, we can go further without you dragging us down." Locke's heart sank as he looked at them, his eyes reflecting the dim light. "I understand," he said, his voice barely more than a whisper. "So, Emmy and the others agree with this too?" There was a painful silence, broken only by the echo of their breathing in the cavernous dungeon. The four of them joined hands, declaring themselves the #1 party. They turned away from Locke and headed toward the boss's lair. Locke watched them, memories flooding back of times when they had been inseparable. Now, he was just a shadow in the background. "Watch from behind," they told him. For one last time, Locke would support them by enhancing their weapons. His heart ached with every step they took away from him. As they entered the boss's chamber, their faces twisted from determination to shock. Before them resting a large, imposing gray wolf. Locke remained in the shadows, his presence a haunting reminder of what once was and what would never be again. A chill ran down their spines as they recognized the beast. Even an E-rank adventurer can defeat a gray wolf like this, they wondered. But Locke's eyes widened in horror as he took in the creature's silvery fur. "It's a Fenrir," he gasped. "A legendary monster, here. Even an S-rank adventurer would struggle against such a beast." Unaware of the true danger, the others charged at the creature. Locke's warning fell on deaf ears as they attacked. Kid's sword struck first, but the blade shattered upon impact, sending shards flying. Stunned, Kid stared at his broken weapon. The Fenrir's eyes snapped open, and with a menacing growl, it focused on the intruders. Kara suddenly collapsed, gripped by paralyzing fear. "Step back," Kid yelled, his voice trembling. "Isaac, we can't fight this thing without a weapon." Isaac, furious and desperate, barked back, "The fight hasn't even started." Kid insisted, "If it had started while it was asleep, we might have had a chance. Now that it's awake, we need to retreat." Reluctantly, Isaac ordered a retreat. As they fled, Locke found himself at the front, seemingly leading the escape. Isaac sneered, "Of course Locke is good at running." But Kid wasn't done. He moved ahead of Locke and, with a grim determination, plunged his broken sword into his own chest. "There's another way to use an idiot like you," he muttered. Locke fell, wounded, as Kid grabbed the spare sword and the king's sword, along with the rest of their gear. Smiling, Kid turned to Isaac, asking if this act made him an official part of their party. Isaac's confirmation felt like a final nail in Locke's coffin. As they retreated, leaving Locke behind, disbelief washed over him. How had it come to this? He remembered the promises they had made, the bonds they had shared. Tears welled up as the Fenrir approached, its massive form looming over him. "Why?" Locke whispered, wondering why he couldn't hate them despite everything. The Fenrir's deep voice echoed in the chamber, how cruel humans are, abandoning one of their own. It promised a swift and painless death. Locke, stunned, turned to face the beast. "You can speak human language?" he asked, astonished. The Fenrir, equally surprised, responded, "You understand me?" Locke nodded, wondering if this was one of his beast tamer skills. "Do you still wish to fight?" the Fenrir asked, almost amused. "I'm free right now, and a fight might be entertaining." Trembling, Locke replied, "I'd really appreciate it if you could just let me go." Fenrir, eyes twinkling with mischief, proposed a game to Locke, expressing how dull it was to stay confined on the floor. Nervously, Locke began searching for something in his belongings and eventually pulled out Isaac's breastplate, tossing it away. Fenrir caught it effortlessly and returned it, asking Locke what he was doing. Locke, maintaining his composure, threw the breastplate again, prompting Fenrir to chase after it once more. This time, Fenrir seemed frustrated, admitting he didn't understand the purpose of the game. Locke, grinning, remarked on how it was fortunate he had learned to handle dogs during his childhood. Fenrir reminded Locke of the unbreakable barrier that kept him trapped, even with his immense strength. Pondering for a moment, Locke inquired if Fenrir would consider embarking on an adventure if they managed to escape the dungeon. Fenrir, intrigued, laughed and indicated he wasn't opposed to the idea. Locke then speculated aloud whether Fenrir was seeking friendship. This triggered a memory about the beast tamer occupation, recalling that a significant event could lead to a transformation in the listener. Could this be the crucial moment he needed for that change? Just then, Locke heard a voice in his mind informing him that Fenrir had become his friend, and since all conditions were met, he now had access to the mini-monster garden. Surprised to hear a voice in his head, Locke wondered what sort of effect this would have. What was happening next? He just had to see for himself. Suddenly, Fenrir started to feel like he was brimming with power. Locke introduced himself to Fenrir, and they greeted each other warmly. But something felt off. Fenrir said that being called Fenrir didn't sit right with him and asked Locke to give him a good name. Locke thought hard and then suggested Lucky. How does that sound? Fenrir's initial reaction was anger, but then he realized it was actually a pretty cool name. He smiled, saying he was really happy with it. Out of nowhere, a treasure chest appeared. Locke realized that making Fenrir his friend was equal to defeating a boss. Opening the chest, he found a bracelet and a massive fillet. Fenrir was amazed by the red collar and asked Locke to put it on him. Locke tied the collar around Fenrir's neck and wore the bracelet on his hand. Then, he heard a voice announcing that the mini-monster garden had been equipped, allowing him to enter or leave whenever he wished. Still puzzled, Locke was jolted by Fenrir's question, urging him to show what the bracelet did. When Fenrir touched the bracelet, he suddenly got sucked into it. Locke was stunned. Was Fenrir okay? Fenrir emerged, saying it was actually a fun experience. Intrigued, Locke decided to try it out himself. Closing his eyes, he thought about the garden and opened them to find himself in a completely different place. Before him stood a quaint hut in a serene, calm environment. Fenrir looked ready to take a nap. Locke surveyed the area. It wasn't very spacious, but the weather and temperature were perfect. They could use the hut as a storehouse if they needed to store things. Locke marveled at the magic of the place. While there were items that provided access to other dimensions, he'd never seen one that allowed familiars to enter. Just then, Lucky inquired about their next move. What adventure awaited them next? Locke pondered, recalling the exploits of the other S-rank adventurers. He voiced his hope to recruit more monsters like Lucky. Excited, Lucky agreed, expressing confidence that many other monsters would be eager to escape their dungeons. However, Locke pointed out that they first needed to navigate through this floor. Without hesitation, Lucky took Locke on his back and urged him to hold on tight as they raced toward the exit. Locke thanked him, amazed at how quickly they covered the distance. Soon, they would reach the carrier and take the staircase out. As they approached a fork, Locke told Lucky to turn right. Curious, Lucky asked why, since the opening ahead seemed like the shortest route. Locke explained that a swarm of monsters awaited them straight ahead, and he wanted to avoid them. Lucky appreciated Locke's caution, noting how valuable it was to have him around. Just as they were about to turn, Locke asked Lucky to wait. Locke dismounted and noticed the dead corpses of monsters. Lucky inquired about them, and Locke explained that the materials could be sold for a lot of money, and some could even be used to make delicious food. This excited Lucky, who loved the idea of tasty meals. Locke then picked up a corpse, said, "Store," and it vanished from his hand. Amazed, Lucky asked how Locke learned to store items like that. Locke explained that he had a feeling about it while riding on Lucky's back. They reached the barrier, and Locke identified the need to tackle the real issue. Lucky tried to pass through but failed, admitting this was as far as he could go, and thanked Locke for the adventure. Locke encouraged him not to give up and requested that Lucky enter the mini-monster garden. Realizing they could pass through this way, Lucky was relieved. Locke, nervous about their safe passage, tried to pass through and succeeded. He called out to Lucky, who was thrilled that they had made it out of the dungeon. Seeing the outside world, Lucky expressed his gratitude, saying he never imagined he could escape the dungeon and looked forward to their journey. Lucky showed signs of friendship, noting it as the first time he made a human his friend, marking a new beginning. The scene shifted to the royal capital of Kronto, where everyone was stunned to see Fenrir with Locke, just as Locke had expected. Guards rushed to defend the Adventurers Guild from the huge grey wolf. Locke tried to explain that Fenrir was his familiar, but the guards weren't listening. Then, Rika, the guild's receptionist, appeared and asked what was happening. Recognizing Locke, she welcomed him and was surprised to see the huge wolf. Locke explained that Fenrir was his familiar, not just a dog. Rika asked if he meant the legendary Fenrir and congratulated him on working as a beast tamer. The guards were stunned to hear it was Fenrir. Rika then mentioned that Locke needed to register himself and his familiar and took care of the registration. Once completed, Locke thanked Rika, who then inquired about the rest of his team. Locke inquired if the team hadn't returned yet, and Rika confirmed they hadn't. He then revealed that Kid had stabbed and abandoned him in the dungeon, though he expected they'd be back in town by now. Concerned, Rika asked about his condition. Locke explained that while he was stabbed, Kid's sword broke, so he avoided any fatal injuries. Rika nervously mentioned that a rumor had been circulating, piquing Locke's curiosity. She explained that the rumor suggested Kid used his friends as decoys to escape the dungeon. She then questioned why Locke was targeted. Locke, somewhat downcast, speculated it was because he was the least useful member of the party. Rika, surprised, disagreed, insisting Locke was the most crucial member. Confused, Locke remarked that anyone could have done his job in the party. Rika countered that the party achieved S-rank status because of Locke's presence and questioned how such a great misunderstanding had occurred. She further explained that due to the betrayal, the Greyla party would be demoted below B rank. Locke was shocked, emphasizing their individual fighting prowess. Rika acknowledged this but stressed that betraying a party member violated guild rules and couldn't be ignored. She added that their failure to return from an S-ranked dungeon hinted at their lack of ability. Realizing the truth in her words, Locke remembered that Anu and others were still with Kid in the dungeon. Without a second thought, Locke started running. Rika called after him, warning that helping them again might lead to more unfair treatment. Locke paused, considering this, but then smiled, stating he just wanted to return their luggage. Rika nodded, understanding his resolve. Locke rushed toward the dungeon, and upon seeing him, Fenrir asked if he was departing. Locke inquired if Fenrir would join him. Lucky, skeptical, reminded Locke of the betrayal but agreed to follow his decision. Locke, determined, got onto Lucky's back, and they sped toward the dungeon. Inside the dungeon, Kid berated the team, calling them morons for not having a map and failing to remember the path. Isaac, frustrated, told him to shut up, while Kara noted they always relied on Locke for guidance. Kid, irritated, questioned their S-rank status as their movements became sluggish. He was baffled by the continuous monster hordes despite taking a supposedly shorter route, expecting weaker monsters on lower floors. Entering a resting area, Isaac suggested a break. As they settled, Isaac noted they had just reached the 4th floor and could manage until the lower floors. He asked Kid about his spare sword's condition. Kid, angered, retorted that Isaac should worry about his own sword. When Isaac examined his sword, he was stunned by its pristine condition, free of rust or nicks. Shocked, Kid inspected Emmy and Kara's staves, finding them similarly unscathed. Furious, Kid criticized the team for their ignorance, revealing they had benefited from Locke's basket. Isaac, taken aback, asked what Kid meant by basket. Kid clarified, saying it was divine protection, a magical skill that enhanced weapon durability in raised base abilities. He accused the team of relying on this protection without any gratitude towards Locke. Stunned, Isaac realized their S-rank status was thanks to Locke. Reminiscing about their childhood, he recalled how Locke's swordsmanship was always praised, fueling his anger as he realized Locke had always been ahead of him. But then he said that as now Locke was no longer in their party, he'll not refuse to believe that he was the reason that they got this far. Kid was getting mad, and then he called out to Kara, asking how many times she can cast a healing spell. She replied that it would be once or twice for each person in the party. He asked about Emmy, and she said that if she conserves her magic, she can still fight reasonably well. Kid thought about it and realized that if they wish to reach the staircase that will lead them to the 4th floor, they will need to get through 5 orange ants first. But those monsters will surely call their allies to help them fight, and considering the fact that they are quite fatigued, fighting them head-on is a bad idea. Then he directed Kara to heal each of them once and assigned Isaac as the vanguard with Emmy right behind him. He positioned himself next to Kara, taking on the role of the rear guard, and asked if they were fine with that. They agreed to his strategy. Kara healed them. And then Kid told them not to look back as they will be going by cutting their way through. Just then, Kid attacked Kara from behind and then said that there isn't any need for healing magic. He said that he's really glad that she'll act as a decoy for them to escape. Being injured, Kara fell down as the 5 orange ants surrounded her. She was scared to see them and screamed not to abandon her as just then, the monster ants attacked her. As Isaac was mad, he asked why Kid cut down Kara. Kid said that he had no choice, but a sacrifice was needed for them to survive. He told them not to worry, as no one will find out about what happened there, and they are still in a dungeon. Isaac said that's not what he meant as Kid said that they are accomplices. They were stunned to hear that and asked about it. Kid said that they benefited greatly when that servant was still around, and the fact that they would abandon such a person is enough to prove their motive as accomplices. Kid was mad, asking why he even agreed to team up with a bunch of useless fools and said there's no way he will be working with them again in the future. As Isaac told him to shut up, saying that he's not even as strong as he claims to be. As Isaac attacked the ants, he asked why they were unaffected by his attack, as it wasn't hard to deal with them before. He realized that it was because of Locke after all. As he was distracted, suddenly the ants were about to attack him from behind, and Isaac was helpless. Then, suddenly, Locke came there with his Fenrir and squashed those ants. They were stunned to see him as Isaac looked at him and said that he should be dead. Locke replied that he came back from hell. Fenrir asked if they should kill them and said as long as they are in the dungeon, no one will find out if they killed them. Then Emmy called out to Locke and pleaded with him to save Kara and told him that she's still on the 5th floor. Locke was stunned and asked what they did to her. Kid revealed that they had no choice but a sacrifice was needed for their survival. Fenrir said that it's ridiculous as they betrayed Locke and yet still have the guts to ask him for his help. But then Locke asked Lucky to go and save Kara, as Lucky commented on Locke as a kind-hearted man. They went to the 5th floor. As Locke was defeating all the monsters on the 5th floor, Lucky was also helping him, as there were so many of them. Locke realized that the scent of blood seems to be the cause as to why so many of them had gathered there. Then he looked at Lucky, wondering that he can be courageous now that he has Lucky with him. Then he dashed towards the monsters and finished defeating them. Lucky praised him, saying that he displayed some impressive movements during their fight. Locke was glad, saying that it's his first time fighting like that. Then, they started looking for Kara. As Lucky found her and showed her to Locke, he went there and looked after her. She was badly injured. Locke reminisced about his memories with her and then he apologized, saying that he didn't make it in time. He gave her a recovery potion, as he wasn't seeing any movement. Locke hugged her, being in tears. Then suddenly, Kara came into motion as if she was alive. As she opened her eyes, seeing Locke in front of her, she asked what was she there and asked if she was in heaven. As then, Kara apologized to him for leaving him behind. Then Locke expressed that it's not important right now and noted that there's another problem. Now, she's not dead. She was confused. Locke informed her that the beast they have to face is the gatekeeper of hell, and emphasized that they have to take that guy down too. Kara looked at Lucky, then she smiled, and suddenly she fell down. Lucky mentioned that she fainted. They then decided to return to the town. As then, Locke noticed an opening and said that it's the entrance to the nest of the orange ants. Lucky was glad to hear that, as he expected delicious eggs there. As they went there and saw the orange ants' eggs, they noticed that some of them looked different from the other eggs and others were smashed down by someone. Suddenly the eggs cracked and the orange ants came out.